Hi everyone, my name is Minal Al-Fayez and you're watching From Scratch. On today's episode of From Scratch, we're making a ricotta. And I have a very special guest. She is Chef Nadia. Hi, Chef Nadia.
Hi, hello.
So Chef Nadia is going to start off by telling us a bit about her background. So Chef Nadia, could you tell us what made you come here today?
So I loved cooking since I was a kid. I used to cook with my grandma since I was 7 years old, and then it grew up with me. And then I decided to study as chef, and I studied in ICCA Dubai as a professional chef.
That's really awesome. Actually, Chef Nadia told me she heard about GICA back in Dubai, which is really awesome.
I was going for the government voting, and then I was with my chef jacket, so they saw me wearing it and they asked me, why are you in Dubai, not studying in Bahrain?
Ah, okay.
So they told me about GICA and I joined GICA.
That's really nice. We're so glad Chef Nadia is with us. So to start off, what we're gonna do is I'll walk you through the recipe. So what you're gonna need is a bit of salt, some lemon and lime juice. This is a mix of both and these are equal quantities. What we have over here is some cream and some milk. So it's super easy. All we're gonna do is we're just gonna start off with a large pot, just like so. And Chef Nadia is actually gonna help me with pouring some of the milk or all of the milk in the pot right here. So could you help me with that? So this is super easy to make at home. Just be very careful with pouring that milk. It's quite full. There we go. Perfect. So you're gonna start off with your milk as well as your cream. So we're just gonna pour both of those inside. And what we're actually gonna do is heat this up very slightly. So the temperature we wanna reach is at 72. Exactly, 75 degrees. So you're gonna start off very slow. You don't wanna rush this. So I don't know if you've ever tried to make ricotta at home. It's very, very sensitive. So increasing the heat or even decreasing the heat, adding too much of one liquid or less of some other is really going to affect your end result. So you wanna make sure you use a proper scale, kitchen scale, to scale out everything, to make sure everything is proper. So we're on the heat right now. We're gonna grab our thermometer. And what we're doing is from time to time, we're gonna check the temperature of the liquid. And you wanna make sure that you have constant movement, especially at the bottom, because it might scorch at the bottom. Have you ever made ricotta at home?
Yes, I have done ricotta, but when I did it, I didn't have the thermometer.
Okay.
So I didn't get the perfect ricotta cheese, so it became so creamy.
Yes, exactly. So just like Chef Nadia said, it's very important to have a properly calibrated thermometer or even a thermometer to make sure that you have a proper temperature reading. That's very important because you'll get a very drastic change in texture if you do not reach the proper temperature. So there are many different uses for a ricotta. The two ways that we're gonna use them for today is to make two different dishes, a savory and a sweet one. The savory dish of the day is going to be a ricotta spread together with some roasted vegetables, and we're gonna make a ricotta panna cotta. So really very easy dishes for the day. They're packed with a lot of flavor and it's just really delicious. Do you have other ways that we could use ricotta for?
Yes, we could use them with some herbs, garlic, spread them on bread.
It's really delicious.
Nice.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can eat them with snacks.
Exactly. So it could serve as a condiment for your charcuterie board, for example. It's just very versatile. You could use it in both savory and sweet. And Chef, actually you told me that you just came back from a cheese making course, correct? Can you tell us more about that?
While I was in the cheese course, it was a USA cheese course. It was really nice. I enjoyed it. I have learned a lot about cheese, many different kinds of cheese, some gold cheese, coffee cheese, long aged cheese.
That's really nice. So you're a cheese connoisseur now, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna increase the heat over here to get it going, just because this milk and cream has come out of the fridge. So it's gonna take a bit of time. So what I'm gonna do is just crank up the heat slightly, let it warm up faster, while constantly checking on the temperature. So we're ready to switch off the heat. It has reached to 75 degrees. So what we're gonna do is pour in the citrus.
So we're adding the lemon.
So this is a mix actually of lime and lemon. I find it to be really delicious to do a mix of both, but it's solely up to you whether or not you want to add just lemon or just lime. And then I'm going to add a very good, healthy pinch of salt. And we're going to give this a very slight mix, very slightly, to make sure everything is nice and mixed through. And then it will start to curdle very gently. And you can tell just by the whisk itself, I've got some curdles stuck. So what we're gonna do right now is set this aside for around 15 minutes until it cools down completely. And then we're ready to pass it through our strainer. I'll see you guys after the break. Welcome back, everyone. So we've had our ricotta sitting for around an hour. What you want to do is let it sit, let it nicely separate. Try not to disturb it. Put it in a cool area in your kitchen for a minimum amount of 1 hour, optimally of overnight in your fridge. So what we're going to do right now is just pass it through a strainer. So very slowly. So our strainer is also lined with a cheesecloth. What you're gonna see underneath is the liquid that's called whey, and whey is a really flavorsome and very great product that you could use to make a lot of different things out of it. One way that you could use it for is to make a caramel, and it tastes really nice. It tastes like a salted caramel.
Never tried it.
It's very delicious. You should really try it at home.
I always throw the water.
It's really great. This is an amazing byproduct that is filled with nutrients, actually. So don't get rid of it. You can make a caramel out of it. It's really delicious. Just be careful not to overdo it, because then it's going to be super hard to let it pass through. Just afraid that it might overflow. In any case, what we can do is let this strain off, and for the rest amount, what we could do is also measure out the amount that we need for our ricotta panna cotta, and then the rest amount can keep on straining on the side for our ricotta spread that's going to be served with roasted vegetables. So just until this is nice and strained off, we're going to measure out the amount that we need. For your ricotta panna cotta, what you're gonna need is the following: some vanilla, water, sugar, milk, ricotta, and some bloomed gelatin leaves. So basically what we did was we put in an ice bowl and some water, some gelatin leaves that have now bloomed. We did this ahead of time because it takes a bit of time.
And this is how it looks like before it gets soaked in water.
Yes. So you want to make sure that you soak it ahead of time because it does take some time for it to turn into this texture, a very jelly-like texture. And that's very important to do ahead of time because the cooking time that it's going to take to make the liquid is quite easy. It's very quick. It doesn't take so much time. So you want to make sure that your gelatin is nice and bloomed before adding it in. If you do add in that gelatin that has not had time to bloom, you're going to get some bigger lumps that are kind of melted together with the rest of your liquid, which is not very nice to have. So you want to have this bloomed ahead of time. So we're going to start off by adding in all of the ingredients. So Chef, could you help me with that? So I'm going to add in our vanilla, and everything goes in. Milk. Exactly. Everything goes in all at once except for the gelatin.
And we'll add the sugar.
Ricotta.
And the water.
Perfect. Right, so I'm just going to slightly turn on the heat over here. Let this come up to a slight simmer. You don't want to bring it up to a boil. And that's only because gelatin does not perform well, especially the use of leaf gelatin does not perform well with a very hot liquid. You want to opt for a simmered liquid that is very low in temperature, that has some smoke coming out of it, which you'll see in just a little bit. And what you want to do is squeeze out all the liquid from the gelatin and add it in once it's done. So we're just going to grab the whisk and give this a nice whisk together. So you could tell that the smoke is starting to arise. So I'm just going to give this a very good whisk to make sure everything is nice and emulsified together. Make sure that ricotta is nice and broken down and melted through. So this is nice and warm. As you could tell, I did not bring it up to a boil. All I did was warm up the liquid. What we're going to do right now is just take out all of the gelatin leaves and give them a nice squeeze. So Chef Nadia, could you help me out with that? And then what we're going to do is pop it right into the mixture right here that is nice and warm. And you'll start to notice that the gelatin completely disappears. And we're going to start ladling this into our prepared containers. So as you could tell, it's a super easy thing to do.
Very easy.
Very
5
easy.
minutes done.
Exactly. Perfect.
You think should I keep more or less?
I think that's a perfect amount. So we're also gonna garnish it with some raspberries and a bit of mint. So we'll leave some space for some garnish. So all we're doing is just pouring it into our pre-prepared containers. And what we're gonna do right now is pop this in a very cold fridge, let it set. You wanna let it set for around 3 hours. It solely depends on how much liquid you poured into your containers. If you've got a larger amount of liquid, then obviously it would take some more time. But this is gonna take around 2 to 3 hours to completely solidify. Right after the break, we're gonna work on our savory dish. So our ricotta is in the fridge chilling for some time until it sets. What we could do in the meanwhile is work on our savory dish of the day. So for that, what you're gonna need is some green bell peppers, red bell peppers, some red onions, some ricotta, mushrooms, bit of salt, black pepper, olive oil, and some chopped parsley. we're gonna start off by adding everything into our mixing bowl right here. So you could top it off with any type of vegetable that you like. You could even add some vegetables that haven't been roasted. So you could even opt for the bell peppers not to roast them as well. Okay. Add in some olive oil, and the chef is going to help me with tossing everything together. So a good heavy amount of olive oil. I'm gonna add in a healthy pinch of salt. And a good crack of some black pepper. So give that a nice mix and then lay it out onto your prepared baking sheet. So you want to make sure it's nice and spread out to make sure that it evenly roasts in the oven. What I'm going to do is pop this in a preheated oven. I've got it at a very high temperature. I like my vegetables to be nice and roasted outside but still have a crunch on the inside. So I achieve that with a high temperature. Do you like your vegetables like so, or do you like them
crunchy food?
Crunchy food,
like
exactly.
crunchy.
Same here as well. So very hot oven. We're going to pop it in for 10 minutes. Right, so we're gonna take it out of the oven. It's been inside for around 10 minutes. So I put it on a very high temperature, as you can tell from the coloring itself. So what we're gonna do is plate everything together. So as you can tell, chef, this is a very easy dish to make. Super easy. Do you have any other recipe recommendations that you might give to the audience with a ricotta that is super easy to make at home?
Maybe they could do some wraps.
Yes.
And slice them as sushi.
Yes, that would
Good
be
for
really
canapes too.
Mm-hmm. You told me before, actually, that you've made a lasagna with ricotta.
Yes, one of my favorite.
Yeah.
It's actually some ricotta with spinach and mushrooms, and then I layered them with the lasagna.
That's really nice. I'm sure that tasted amazing. For this recipe, it's super easy. You've got some roasted vegetables, and as I said, you could opt out for any type of vegetable. For me, this is just a quick and very accessible vegetable mix. Any other vegetable would work out as well. So let's go ahead with plating the ricotta.
What condiments do you think would be good with it?
With this type of dish,
Yes.
I think it can depend on the season. So if you've got something that's seasonal, that's growing in your area, I think that would really work out very nicely. So for example, if it's tomato season, then you could go in with a nice variety of tomatoes and have them nicely sliced up and garnished with a bit of salt. Do you like tomatoes yourself?
Yes.
I love
I
tomatoes.
love cherry tomatoes a lot too.
Yes, I love them. And especially here in Bahrain, tomato season is really wonderful in the farmers market. You've got different varieties, different colors. So that's really nice to have as a condiment instead of these vegetables as well. So nicely spread out. What we're gonna do is have the vegetables right on top, just like so. You could even have some that are raw vegetables and some that are roasted in the oven. So you could even swap out from using roasted bell peppers to having them just freshly cut and diced up, solely up to your liking. So we're gonna have this nice and mounted onto each other. just like so. I'm gonna set this aside. And what we'll do is I'm gonna garnish with a bit of salt, and Chef, you can help me with garnishing with pepper. Okay, and just a little bit of parsley, and we're gonna end with olive oil. So use a very good quality olive oil, especially if you choose it to garnish with. Doesn't this look awesome? Looks really great.
It's so good.
And it's super easy to make. If you've got some ricotta laying around at home or you made it from scratch, I highly recommend trying it this way. It's super easy, very delicious, and very fresh. So that's it on our first dish. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go out on a break and we're gonna garnish our panna cotta. So our panna cotta is fully set, as you could tell. It's nice and gelatinous. What's left to do is just garnish. So what you're gonna need is some raspberries, some mint, and a bit of gold powder. And this is obviously not necessary, but this is just to give it a nice and beautiful touch. So what we're gonna do is, Chef and I, we're going to dip together the raspberries, and we're gonna take it from the open side out, just like so, and then dip them straight in to give you a very nice outline, just like so. So we're gonna put these on our panna cottas. So panna cotta is one of my favorite desserts. Super easy and very delicious to make. Chef, do you like panna cotta, or do you have any other favorite dessert?
Well, my favorite dessert is tiramisu. I really love tiramisu.
It's really good, actually. Tiramisu is one of also my favorite desserts as well. How do you usually like to have it?
The tiramisu?
Yes.
I like it very creamy.
Okay, that's really
I don't like the dried tiramisu. I like it the one that has a lot of cream.
Yes, that's really nice.
So, Chef, do you think panna cotta could be made with other flavors?
I think so, yeah. Actually, you've got a very wide variety of things that you could do with panna cotta. You could swap out the liquid content with using different types of milks. You could even add in some zest of some lemons, limes, or any sort of citrus. So it's very, it's endless with different varieties of flavors. What would you make if you were to make it a different flavor?
Since I love chocolate and caramel, maybe I could try chocolate or try with caramel.
You could always do that. I think that's a really wonderful idea, actually. So we are done with the full thing. You could garnish with however you would like. This is just our way of garnishing, which is very simple. Just some raspberries and a touch of fresh mint. We have both of our dishes made from scratch, made with a ricotta from scratch. We've got a savory one and a sweet one. We had a roasted vegetable mixture that topped off our ricotta, and we made a panna cotta with a ricotta. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much, Chef, for being a guest chef in this episode. I enjoyed my day so much, and I'll see you guys next time on From Scratch.